The skill he ignored until it became essential. It never felt urgent. It never looked impressive. And for a long time, it didn't seem necessary. Early in his career, success followed a familiar formula. Do the work well, specialize deeply, become reliable in a narrow lane. The advice was consistent, and it worked. Promotions came. Responsibilities grew. The system rewarded focus, not flexibility. The skill he ignored wasn't technical. It didn't come with certifications or clear metrics. It was the ability to communicate clearly across boundaries. At first, it felt optional. Others handled presentations. Others translated ideas between teams. He preferred execution, precision, letting results speak. And for years, that approach carried him forward without resistance. But as his role expanded, the environment changed. Projects grew more complex. Teams multiplied. Decisions required alignment instead of output. The work no longer lived in one domain. It lived in conversations, in context, in the ability to explain, not just execute. He noticed it slowly. Meetings where ideas stalled, misunderstandings that delayed progress, feedback that focused less on quality and more on clarity. The work was strong, but its impact was diluted, and that gap became harder to ignore. Still, he dismissed it. Communication felt secondary, something you pick up later, something extroverts excel at naturally. His value, he believed, was in doing the work, not talking about it. And as long as results were delivered, the rest would sort itself out. Then one moment changed the equation. A project he had built carefully failed to gain traction, not because it was flawed, but because it wasn't understood. Decisions moved forward without his input. Direction shifted away from his intent. And he realized something unsettling. The skill he had deprioritized wasn't optional anymore. It was essential, and the longer he ignored it, the more invisible his work became. Because in environments driven by alignment, the ability to translate ideas determines whose work actually moves forward. And that realization marked the beginning of a far more difficult challenge. Learning a skill he should have started building years earlier. At first, the gap showed up as frustration, not failure, misalignment. He watched decisions unfold that didn't reflect the work he had done. Ideas were simplified, reshaped, or sidelined entirely. And each time, he felt the same quiet resistance. The work was right. The execution was solid. So why wasn't it landing? The answer was uncomfortable. People weren't reacting to the work itself. They were reacting to how it was communicated. He realized how often he stayed quiet in rooms where context mattered, how rarely he framed his thinking for people outside his domain. He assumed clarity was obvious. That logic spoke for itself. But logic doesn't travel well without translation. This created a new kind of conflict. Improving communication felt like stepping outside his identity. He had built his reputation on competence, not persuasion. Speaking up felt performative. Simplifying ideas felt like dilution. He worried that focusing on communication meant compromising depth, so he delayed. But the environment didn't wait. As collaboration increased, influence shifted toward those who could connect dots publicly, people who explained trade-offs clearly, who shaped narratives, not just outcomes. The work that moved fastest wasn't always the best. It was the most understood. He began noticing a pattern. Others weren't smarter. They were clearer. That realization stung, because clarity was learnable, and ignoring it had been a choice. A reasonable one early on, but costly now. The longer he waited, the more ground he lost in rooms where decisions were made. Eventually, he confronted the truth he had avoided. Communication wasn't a distraction from real work. It was the multiplier. Without it, effort stayed local. With it, effort scaled. And that meant the skill he had ignored wasn't just missing. It was actively holding him back. Because in complex systems, impact doesn't come from doing the work alone. It comes from helping others understand why the work matters. And that realization forced him into unfamiliar territory, learning not how to do more, but how to be heard. The challenge wasn't learning how to speak. It was learning how to translate. He began experimenting cautiously, explaining ideas in simpler terms, framing work around outcomes instead of process, asking questions to understand what others needed to hear, not just what he wanted to say. Each adjustment felt awkward, unnatural, like starting over in a skill he had avoided for years. The discomfort was real. He worried about sounding basic, about losing credibility, about being mistaken for someone less technical. Years of identity had been built on depth and precision. Now, he was being asked to prioritize clarity and relevance. That shift required humility. The conflict intensified internally. In some rooms, his new approach worked immediately. Alignment improved. Decisions accelerated. In others, habits resurfaced. He retreated into detail. When challenged, old instincts pulled him back. Growth wasn't linear, and that made the process frustrating. But slowly, patterns emerged. When he framed his work through shared goals, engagement increased. When he explained trade-offs clearly, trust followed. When he connected his ideas to broader strategy, influence expanded. The work didn't change, but its reception did. The skill began compounding. Meetings became collaborative instead of adversarial. Feedback became forward-looking. People asked for his perspective earlier in the process, not because he demanded attention, but because he made understanding easier. The most surprising shift wasn't external. It was internal. He stopped equating communication with self-promotion. He saw it as stewardship. Ensuring good work didn't get lost in complexity, protecting ideas from misunderstanding, helping teams move forward with confidence. The skill he once ignored became the bridge between effort and impact. And once that bridge existed, the value of his work multiplied in ways technical excellence alone never could. But there was still one final realization waiting. That mastering the skill wouldn't just change how others saw his work. It would change how he saw his role entirely. Because the moment you learn how to translate ideas effectively, you stop being just a contributor. You become a connector. And connectors shape direction. The impact became visible long before it was acknowledged. Ideas moved faster. Decisions stuck. The work he produced didn't suddenly improve. It didn't need to. What changed was how easily others could engage with it. Alignment replaced friction. Momentum replaced repetition. The same effort now carried further because it was understood. The skill he once ignored didn't just enhance his career. It reshaped it. He stopped being evaluated only on output and started being trusted with direction. His role expanded naturally, not through title changes, but through influence. People sought his input earlier, not because he spoke louder, but because he clarified complexity. Looking back, the mistake wasn't overlooking communication early on. It was underestimating how essential it would become later. In complex careers, excellence isn't enough. Impact requires translation. The ability to connect ideas across people, teams, and priorities is what allows good work to matter at scale. And those who develop that skill don't just advance faster. They become indispensable. Sometimes the smallest shift in perspective becomes the beginning of a new future. The skill